Welcome to another episode of Port Charles Chat. I'm Mom.
I'm Brandon.
Thank you so much for joining with us today.
Yes, thank you for joining us as always.
Yes, we always love doing this. And Brandon, how has your day been today?
Mom, it's been going well. Lots of time together with a family, lots of experiences, but overall, we're here for the Port Charles Chat.
We sure are. And we are talking about the week of May 11th through the May 15th of 2026. We're still a little behind. We are taping this on the day of May the 30th. Are you ready, Brandon?
Mom, I'm ready. Let's catch up.
Alrighty. First of all, when we last left, Sonny and Rick were together, and Sonny actually had pulled a gun on Rick. Sonny thinks that he's been betrayed by his brother, and so poor Rick is trying to defend himself the best that he can. Brandon, what did you think of when you saw that scene?
Yes, I'm sure that we were saying the same thing that everybody was saying when watching this. Like, Rick, just tell the man what he wants to hear, that you are not conspiring against him, and that you're just getting this little tiny piece of art for Elizabeth.
Yeah. So I was happy to see that Rick was able to talk his way out of this, and just surprised that Sonny was just kind of going in this direction. But he did say that Rick was acting kind of suspicious, and he wasn't there fully trusting him quite yet. But anyway, after this incident, it seems like they are buddy buddy again. And poor Ava had to go away with Ethan and didn't know what was going to happen to her. But all is better in the Sonny and Rick world now. Dante and Lulu. Dante does know about Rocco now because of the conversation that he had with Elizabeth. And so Dante goes and he confronts Lulu about Rocco. Rocco does come home at some point in time. I don't think he goes in the house, but he does overhear some of the conversation, and it bothers him that his parents are arguing about him. Charlotte and Carly have a discussion about Valentine. And then Brennan, Valentine, and Nina, when we also last left, because it was an exciting week this week also, when we last left them, Brennan actually had been given a syringe by Nina, and she accidentally actually hit him with this using the syringe, and so he went down because he was shot with the same medicine that Drew has been taking. And so Nina's feeling very guilty about everything that's happened. Valentine was there. Valentine actually was kind of indifferent, and he left after after seeing Brennan go down. Brandon, what were your thoughts when you saw this scene?
Well, I definitely know who my next couple are, of Nina and Brennan. And I found it interesting how long Brennan was conscious before sort of falling over, and Valentine being like, "What'd you put in the syringe?"
Yeah, Valentine was just really, really shocked. Yes. Then on the other hand, we have Willow and Chase who are becoming closer as friends. Um, Trina and Portia, they do bond together and they plan a baby shower. Um, the 88 Turner questions Isaiah because Curtis, I say 88 Turner questions Isaiah because Curtis believes that Isaiah is the one who kind of ran, I should say, ran Jordan off the road. In the sense that the accident was Jordan's fault. I think that they've all kind of agreed on that. The issue is that the reason why Jordan swerved, and they think that Isaiah was the person. Well, Curtis believes that Isaiah is the person on the road, and so 88 does question Isaiah, but she doesn't have a reason to arrest Isaiah at this point. Um, and then in the land of the teenagers, Charlotte, Danny, and Rocco have worked together. Also, actually, Danny started touching and pushing Rocco at some point, but that's as far as it went. So they're all having issues together. Britt and Lulu have a conversation at some point, and they talk about Rocco. um, Dante and Nathan have a little confrontation also, because of course at this point in time Dante does know that Nathan is aware that Rocco is the one who shot Cullum, and Dante is not too happy to know that his police officer did not tell him everything that went on. Um, See, Jordan and Molly, who I kind of forgot were almost related, they had a time where they bonded together. And then toward the end of the week, Rocco and Britt had a conversation. Rocco does confide in Britt, and he tells her that he trusts her. He doesn't like what's happening with his family right now, and so he thinks that Britt is kind of the answer for him. Um, Now, like as I've already discussed, Brennan has gone down, so he does go to the hospital, and Willow and Nina are both at the hospital to check on him. However, Willow doesn't like the fact that her mother is there checking on Brennan because she thinks it looks suspicious. Nina doesn't think it looks suspicious because she's like, well, he did fall down, and I was there because she called it in, and but Willow doesn't quite like that. But anyway, so they kind of have a little chat about that. Um, let's see, and then Michael is back. Michael's been missing for a little bit, and so Elaine has been hired as a PI to kind of work for Michael, and so Elaine is going around and she is taking pictures of Willow and with Chase, because in Michael's world, Michael wants to get Chase and Willow back together so that he could kind of plan whatever that he is planning to go on with them. Let's see. Ethan and Christina have words. It was a busy week. Ethan and Christina have a conversation, and when they do, Christina tells Ethan about her daughter that she lost. Christina gets a chance to actually meet Phoebe, and she does hold Phoebe for a few minutes, but then she kind of has this talk with Ethan. Let's see. Trina decides that she wants to sing, and so she and Brooklyn is actually given this opportunity to her. And so Trina is exploring this option. It's kind of come out of nowhere, but anyway, she's exploring this option with herself. And she also wants Gio to kind of help her and to, I guess, play the guitar, or maybe he'll bring out the violin again. I don't know. But anyway, that's what's going on in their world. Cullum wants the evidence about his shooting. He does see Dante about that. Dante kind of has a little fiblet and says that he doesn't have the evidence. Um, Tracy and Laura have a conversation about this airstrip, and Tracy and Laura has asked Tracy to just trust her. And then at the last part of the week, we end with more drama. Curtis and Isaiah and Portia are all together at a restaurant. Curtis just happens to see Isaiah and Portia there. A fight ensues, and Curtis ends up hitting Isaiah. And when he does that, Isaiah goes down, and he ends up being badly hurt, or at least his hand is badly hurt. And of course, we know that Isaiah is a surgeon. I think at this point in time, we just see Isaiah go down, but we later find out that his hand is badly hurt. And then last week, we know that Jocelyn actually was taken into to the same place where Anna was being held captive. And so Jocelyn and Nathan have conversations, and Jocelyn is asking Nathan for him to bring something that helps stimulate her mind while she's there. I think this ends everything, Brandon. There was just a lot going on. All right, Brandon, did I leave anything out?
No, I think that was just about it.
Okay, sounds good. So let's get to the fun part. Let's get to our performers of the week. All right, Brandon, I said for this week, Rocco was one of my performers of the week, and then Rick and Sonny, just because they kind of amuse me. So those were my three performers of the week. All right, Brandon, who do you have?
I'll go with that.
Okay. All right, sounds good. And then as for amusing scenes of the week, for me this week it was Willow and Sidwell. They had a lot of bantering back and forth, and I kind of was amused by their bantering. And of course, the bantering was about Drew. All right, Brandon, what about you for amusing scenes of the week?
I definitely am amused with sort of the whole Willow Nina thing in terms of, repeatedly showing back up to the hospital. But I think the one that tops them all is Jocelyn and Cassius speaking about their sort of lives, how they get there. Because, Jocelyn started the WSB because, it was either that or a podcast. And then Cassius, he wanted to perhaps take over Nathan's life or start a podcast, either or. So I like that sort of banter that maybe they'll start one together by the time this is over.
Yeah, maybe they will. All right. And then as for touching scenes of the week, I had a couple this week. I have Britt and Rocco. I think they really act really well together. And then Molly and Jordan had a very touching scene, and I really like that. Like I said, I had just kind of forgotten that they were really related. And then Trina and Portia, I like that they bonded together as mother and daughter. So those are my kind of touching scenes of the week. How about for you?
What would you say yours were again?
My touching scenes of the week were Britt and Rocco, and then Molly and Jordan, and then Trina and Portia.
Yeah, I really like those, and especially with Molly and Jordan. I really like their dynamic, and even though we barely ever see them in the same area, let alone a scene together, is I like that they were able to have that dynamic and even play off of TJ, even though he's not here.
Yep, same here, same here. And as for fast forwarding scenes, I didn't see any that I fast forwarded this week. How about you, Brian?
No, I didn't fast forward anything this week, but I definitely wish that they sort of pick up the pace with this whole Curtis thing.
Yeah, I understand that. Were there any missing scenes this week?
I don't per se think. Well, actually, there's sort of one, and that's we left off um, with Willow sort of coming in and discovering all the stuff about Michael and Jacinda, and then we don't pick up from that.
Okay. Yep, and we know that happens quite often at General Hospital. I'm talk a little bit about scenes of the week because I had a couple of them. The first scene of the week, and these are just scenes that just are memorable and stood out. Curtis hitting Isaiah was one of them. Sonny and Rick being together was another one. And then Brenna's reaction to receiving the shot from, and shot used loosely, from Nina. Those are my kind of scenes of the week that kind of stood out. How about you for you, Brandon?
Yeah, we sort of started and ended the week with some dramatics, but I will say my scene of the week is at the beginning with Rick, Sonny, and the weapon of choice because his trigger finger is itchy.
Yeah, yeah, that was funny. All right, and then as for welcome backs, I think Michael's been gone for a little bit, and so it's just send us welcome back to both of them. All right, Brandon, did you have any welcome backs?
Welcome back to Elaine.
Oh yeah, Elaine. That's very true. Elaine's been missing for a little bit, and then I didn't have any. Where are they this week? How about you?
Where is Elaine's dog Mavis? I know that the last time we saw her, Mavis, well, that we saw Mavis almost got run over, and Elaine asked Sasha to watch over, and then Sasha immediately left, I think, like a week or two later. So, I mean, Mavis was mentioned, but we don't see Mavis.
All right. And then let's see. As for next week, I think the big thing is I'm looking forward to more of the Rocco storyline. I think Rocco's doing a wonderful job as an actor, so I really want to see more of him. All right, Brand, what about you?
I agree with that, and I want to see more of Rocco's interactions with Danny and Charlotte, because I feel that we're getting to a point of, and we've spoken about this earlier, that Rocco is the dangerous one. I mean, he has been for quite a while, and Danny, I mean, certainly reckless in his own right, but not any more than Rocco is.
Yeah, Rocco is much worse than Danny, but people don't quite realize that. Danny's just, I think, acting like a teenager, whereas Rocco's kind of doing things over and beyond his scope of not even knowing how to deal with it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's like Danny might lead Rocco into trouble, but it's like Rocco takes like 10 extra steps himself, and I mean, certainly a nice blend of the Spencers and Corinthos families.
Yeah, he is. He is. All right, Brad, is there anything else you want to talk about this week?
I don't think so. I mean, again, we had bookended action from the whole, Rick and Sonny dilemma to the Curtis and Isaiah slap to the stabbing of Brennan. I mean, but and of course with Jocelyn and Cassius, and Jocelyn keeps trying to plot her way out of another predicament. And so I'm curious, sort of, even in present day, wondering what is the next step in progression that the storyline is going to take.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. It really will. All right. Well, we thank everybody for watching today.
And we look forward to seeing you next time.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.